nice butt.
What is your name?
Cesar Chavez.
Trevor Garfield is a science teacher who rides his bicycle to school every day. His students give him grief about it, but he brushes it off without missing a beat. Teaching is something he genuinely cares about, and he puts real effort into making his lessons land. One day, he wheels his bike into the classroom and uses it to demonstrate centripetal force, spinning the wheel up to around 180 RPM and getting the whole class to pitch in. For a stretch, everyone is laughing and engaged and actually having a good time together, but that good energy doesn't last. Garfield spots an empty desk and picks up the book sitting on it. Somebody has written 187 next to his name on the inside cover. He knows exactly what it means. 187 is the police code for homicide, and it's a threat. The book belongs to a student named Dennis, who has known gang ties. Garfield goes straight to the principal and lays it all out, but the principal waves it off, suggesting Dennis probably just picked the number up from a song and that Garfield is reading too much into it. When Garfield pushes and brings up Dennis's background, the principal pivots to mentioning that Dennis transferred from another school, one Garfield apparently had history with, and essentially tells him to handle it on his own. Garfield leaves the office feeling completely dismissed. Then, in the middle of a crowded hallway between classes, someone stabs him in the back multiple times and vanishes into the crowd. The story jumps forward 15 months. Garfield has relocated to the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles and is living on his own. Physically, he's healed, but the weight of what happened is clearly still with him. When a local school calls looking for a substitute to cover for a science teacher named Eskinder, who is out on leave, Garfield says yes without hesitating. Teaching is all he's ever wanted to do, and he's ready to get back to it. On his first morning, he says a quiet prayer before leaving the house, then drives to school. At the front entrance, he introduces himself as a substitute, and a staff member points him toward the main office, telling him to head straight down the hall, turn right, and check in with Mrs. Olson. He gets assigned to Bungalow 86, walks in, and starts writing on the board immediately. The students have no idea what they're looking at, but that's his point. Science is about looking past the surface to find what's actually underneath it. Then another teacher appears in the doorway. His name is Dave Childress, and he teaches American history. Dave informs Garfield, with a touch of amusement, that he's in Bungalow 84 and needs to be next door in Bungalow 86. That's Eskinder's room. The class laughs as Garfield quietly gathers himself and follows Dave over. The right classroom is a different world entirely. Students are doing whatever they feel like. Books are flying out the window. A kid named Benny is standing near the window, completely unbothered, as if none of it has anything to do with him. Garfield asks Benny calmly to go outside and pick the books up. Benny doesn't move. He points to the ankle monitor strapped to his leg and makes clear that he's under house arrest and doesn't think anyone in this building has any real authority over him. Garfield stays even, learns Benny's full name, Benny Chicoine, courtesy of another student who blurts it out. And when Benny keeps disrupting things, quietly hands him a detention slip. No raised voice, no theatrics. The second Garfield turns back to the board, Benny crumples the slip and flings it at the back of his head. The class erupts. Garfield turns around, looks at them for a moment, and keeps going. At lunch, Dave sits down next to him and gives him a rundown on how the school actually operates. If students are a problem, go to the counselor, Larry, not the administration. The administration has no investment in protecting teachers. A computer science teacher named Ellen Henry joins them at the table. They start asking about Garfield's background, and when he mentions his previous school, Dave asks directly whether that's the place where a teacher got stabbed. Garfield says carefully that the teacher survived. Dave puts it together fast and realizes Garfield is that teacher. He's mortified, and says so, telling Garfield he feels like an idiot for offering advice to someone who's already been through something like that. Ellen gets visibly uncomfortable and excuses herself. Dave stays and keeps talking about how the system consistently fails teachers, about how little protection there actually is. Back in the classroom, Garfield starts picking up on the dynamics. A girl named Rita gives him attitude but clearly knows the material when he actually tests her on it. He also clocks that several students belong to a gang called KOS and that Benny is running it. After school, Ellen comes back to apologize for how she left at lunch, saying she isn't entirely sure why she got up so suddenly. The two of them start talking more honestly. She tells him about Eskinder, 7 months pregnant when a student wouldn't stop provoking her, and she eventually snapped and kicked him, which is why she's now on leave. Then Ellen asks Garfield directly whether the attack on him was random or whether he had seen it coming. He tells her about the 187 written in the book, and how the principal did nothing when he raised the alarm. That opens something up between them. Ellen admits she testified against Benny in an assault case, and since then her car has been vandalized, and she has the creeping sense that someone has been getting into her home, though she can't prove it. That same night, Benny runs into a teenager spray painting a wall somewhere in the neighborhood. After a brief confrontation, Benny kills him. The next morning, Benny doesn't come to school, and later in the day, someone finds his ankle monitor sitting in a trash can. Garfield learns around this time that he'll be staying for the full semester. Eskinder has taken stress leave and won't be returning soon. He and Ellen keep spending time together, and what starts as friendship gradually becomes something closer. He invites her to dinner at his house, and she accepts. Over the meal, he talks honestly about what the stabbing did to him, not just the physical damage, but what it left behind emotionally. They dance after eating. Ellen accidentally knocks over her coffee, and when Garfield takes off his shirt to change, she sees the scarring on his back. She can't hide her reaction. He walks her home afterward, and when she apologizes, reassures her that it's fine. Before saying goodnight, she hands him a small plant and tells him his house needs something alive in it. The next day in class, a student named Caesar won't stop interrupting. Garfield asks him to read from the textbook and quickly realizes Caesar can barely read at all. When class ends, Garfield notices his watch is missing. He knows Caesar took it. He asks Caesar directly to hand it over, and Caesar flatly denies having it, saying he needs to leave. Garfield tells him to empty his pockets right there. Caesar heads to the principal's office before Garfield can take it further, and by the time Garfield arrives, Caesar is already there spinning his own version of events. Principal Garcia has Caesar empty his pockets. No watch. Garfield asks for a locker search, and Garcia refuses. The school counselor, Highland, pulls Garfield aside before things blow up. In Highland's office, the counselor suggests Garfield install a camera in his classroom, pitching it as self-monitoring so students don't feel singled out. Highland steps away to take a phone call, and Garfield finds himself alone. He sees a set of locker keys on the desk and takes them. Ellen asks Garfield to look after her dog while she travels to San Francisco for a work conference. Around the same time, Rita comes to him after class, distressed about failing in her English composition course, saying the teacher hates her and the failing grade isn't fair. He offers to tutor her, and they agree to meet at his place. When she arrives, she tries to steer things in a different direction entirely. He shuts it down immediately, tells her to get dressed, and says they'll meet at the library from now on. Back at school, he installs the camera as Highland suggested, and then uses the stolen locker keys to get into Caesar's locker, where he finds and reclaims his watch. He pulls Caesar aside and shows him what he found. Caesar's cool exterior cracks, and he turns hostile, dismissing Garfield's attempt at a conversation and making clear that things between them are far from over. That evening, Garfield drives to Caesar's house and speaks with his mother. She tells him Caesar is violent at home too, and that she's run out of ways to deal with it. On the drive back, gang members ambush his car. The next morning, his classroom has been torn apart. When Garfield confronts Caesar, the student admits to it without any remorse and essentially dares Garfield to do something about it. A few days later, Ellen picks Garfield up from the airport. He's tense and sharp in a way that goes past just having a rough day. He snaps at a stranger during the drive, telling someone talking nearby that he's in the middle of a conversation with the woman beside him. When they get to his house, Ellen rushes inside to check on her dog and finds him dead. She's wrecked by it and asks Garfield to give her some space. That same night, Caesar is outside spray painting a dog onto a road sign when an arrow suddenly strikes him and he collapses. He wakes up in the hospital with a finger missing. When Principal Garcia and a lawyer come to speak with him, Caesar tells them Garfield is responsible. They dismiss it, treating it as just another move in an ongoing feud. Then an envelope arrives at the hospital. Inside is the severed finger, and tattooed on the skin are the words, "Are you done?" Something Garfield had said to Caesar more than once before. Not long after, police pull a body from the river. It's Benny. KOS members, including a student named Stevie, begin suspecting Garfield. Ellen thinks so too and confronts him directly. He tells her that people like Benny function in a way that society hasn't figured out how to handle. He's not rattled. He speaks about it in a flat, almost resigned tone, as if he's already made his peace with whatever he's done. Ellen tells him she doesn't recognize who he is anymore. Rita's situation deteriorates. KOS starts targeting her. The harassment becomes relentless, and she eventually stops coming to school. Then the administration fires Garfield after finding out Rita had been at his home, even for a tutoring session. The optics were enough. The school wanted it done with. Garfield has lost his job, but he hasn't left. Caesar and what remains of KOS track him to his house. They've been watching a film called The Deer Hunter and arrive with a revolver and a plan. They want a confession. About Benny, about the finger. Garfield sits with them and tells them plainly, without any defensiveness, that yes, he did it. They force him into a game of Russian roulette with Caesar. Caesar loads the revolver with 2 bullets himself. Each time the gun passes between them, Garfield talks about the path Caesar has chosen, about what his life is and where it's going to end up. Caesar tells him to shut up and keep playing. Round after round they go, Garfield speaking, Caesar seething. Garfield makes it clear that he had wanted to help, that Caesar is destroying himself, that none of this was inevitable. When Garfield reaches the second to last turn, he pulls the trigger and the gun doesn't fire. He survives the round. but instead of passing the revolver to Caesar, he turns it on himself and pulls the trigger. It fires. He dies on the spot. Caesar is enraged. He feels like the moment, his moment, was stolen from him. His friends try to pull him back, pleading with him to leave, but Caesar picks up the gun and shoots himself too. The film ends on graduation day. Rita walks across the stage in her cap and gown. Stevie is there as well. He left the gang behind and carries nothing but regret about who he used to be. Rita has written an essay about Garfield centered on the concept of a Pyrrhic victory, a win that cost you more than it was ever worth. Paco, the only other KOS member still standing, doesn't graduate, but he lingers at the edge of the ceremony long enough to watch before slipping away into the city. Ellen submits her resignation and walks away from the school. The film closes with 2 statistics drawn from a 1994 survey. 1 in every 9 teachers in the United States had been physically attacked while at school, and in 95% of those cases, the person who attacked them was a student. A final note informs us that the screenplay was written by a teacher, and that's where this story ends. If you enjoyed this recap, go ahead and subscribe to the channel for more movie summaries just like this one. Hit the like button, leave your thoughts in the comments, we genuinely want to hear what you think. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.